Truelove from Truelove Quilts for You. I do have a little tutorial today based on your suggestions. My whole list of little tutorials for gift giving for the upcoming gift giving season for you guys who celebrate holidays. Today I'm going to show you how I made this little, from a suggestion, a very sturdy eyeglass case. This has it's fully lined with a zipper, and I've used two different fabrics. I have binding on it and a little lobster catch to attach it to a bag or your belt loop or something. A really nice insulated, interfaced and foam eyeglass case. It's fairly substantial. This is the tutorial I've done it on. Now I had started out by I thought, what a good idea to make a nice eyeglass case. I didn't have a pattern, and I started out with this one, which is really jacked up. It's a mess. I saw it on Pinterest and I'm like, oh, that'll be easy. It wasn't easy. It's not easy. This is a larger one, but I didn't like that at all. Put that over there. And then I did this one, which I thought, oh, okay, I'm getting a little bit better because I did want to put the zipper in it. I actually put seam binding on the inside, and I turned it around and it ended up small. It's all right, whatever. And then I did this one, which was quite nice, but as you know, I like to use my double fold bias binding. It didn't turn out, it turned out okay, but if you look up close. And then I did this one, which I was quite pleased. I'm actually using this one for my own glasses. And this size, which I give you in my measurements, actually hold up a pair of my large sunglasses. But perhaps if you have a pair of man's glasses or men's sunglasses, not like sports glasses, not the round ones, that needs more of like a clamshell case, but this is more like a flat sunglasses, perhaps just a ½ inch bigger or so for a pair of men's. But this does hold my glasses. This one I was experimenting on again with the tape. Didn't turn out great. My actual tutorial, I'm quite pleased with the way it turned out, my binding. This one I did put a little doodad on it. You can just, embellish it as you want. No raw seams, as I said. Now, in the beginning of my tutorial, you must forgive me, I was saying I was using two fat quarters. Oh, fat quarters is big, right? I'm like, I must have said it 10 times. I meant 10-inch squares. And even then, only because I've used two 10-inch squares, even then, you don't need, it's just, you'll see the pieces of the size that you need. You can use scraps, really. You can use one fabric if you want. And one fabric, you can use one fat quarter to make this. A little zipper and a bit of binding. So this is the one I've been making, and I added this, and this was a bit of an experiment, and I talk you through my process of how I did the binding, the finished binding on this one, and I'm quite pleased with the way this turned out. And then I did have to hand stitch the binding just to put my little lobster catch on, but I quite like that. So a nice little present, again, fully lined, foam, inner lined and interfaced, completely lined, all the different fabrics. Nice little present for somebody, practical also. I just wanted, before I get to the tutorial, and I don't know how to do those timestamps. I'll have to ask one of my kids to do a timestamp to the actual tutorial, because I usually talk for a couple minutes. I just wanted to thank you all so very, very much. The last video I put up was of Maxwell and I in my new car, and it was just so lovely. I didn't get one nasty comment. Usually I do. I didn't get one nasty comment about my interaction with my Maxwell. And I just wanted to thank you so much for making aware that, and I think I'm a good mom, but I never realized, no, I did, and maybe I dismissed it, how important the Starbucks, you know me and Starbucks, blah, 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 I don't like Starbucks, whatever, but how important that is to our son, and how that makes him feel. It makes him feel special, but it makes him feel like everyone else, and he is like everyone else. We're just all different. And I have to step away from I have to get over myself and want to share that with Maxwell. So maybe in the next couple videos, I'll surprise him. I'll try to video it, and me going to Starbucks. Like I said, I have to widen my horizons, and it's a silly thing to me, but it's a big thing to our Maxwell, and I want to share in with that. So I thank you so very, very much, and so much information. So, I never realized. Somebody said, because as you know, Maxwell got smacked in the back of his head, blah, blah, blah. He has autism, he has epilepsy. He got smashed in the back of his head. And when I used the word broken, somebody pointed out kindly, yes, he was intact. He got smashed in the back of his head. He got broken and put back together with drugs and therapy and time and, schooling and life. But he was broken. So I wasn't using the word broken as an insult. Maxwell got smashed in the back of his head. And interesting, when my husband and I were looking at our comments, I never heard of TBI, traumatic brain injury. Hello? Like, that was never ever even I never heard of it. The neurologist said never, ever heard of that. So we looked it up, and whether it's consistent with what he has, but I thought, wow, so much useful and kind and valuable information from my little video with Maxwell. And also I really wanted to, right after this, I would put up, we did go out, our grandson, not our oldest grandson, our next to oldest grandson, he got engaged over the weekend, or he got engaged Tuesday night, as a surprise, because it was just a Tuesday night, and we went over and 6 foot masked and 6 foot apart, social distancing. But I'll put some pictures up of our oldest son's boy, who got engaged to his girlfriend. So that's all exciting. They've been going out for a year, and just sweet girl Ashley. So Alex and Ashley are going to be married, and it's exciting for us. So I'll put some pictures up, and yeah, I hope you enjoy this little tutorial of my nice little eyeglass case. Super easy, this part. The binding may not be quite for a beginner because it's just slightly fiddly, but if you go slow, I show you step by step by step. You'll probably be able to do it. So, sweet little tutorial. I hope you like it. And again, folks, thank you so very much. All right, see ya. Bye. So I'm going to be showing you how I made this little eyeglass case here. And this is the size that I settled on for my glasses. And have shown you in the beginning, this holds a pair of my larger sunglasses. But if you're going to be making a man's case, I would be making it just slightly larger. And I give you the sizes to make exactly this size. Now I will be honest, this binding, it was sort of experimental. And as I showed you in the beginning, I had made a couple different ones. This one here, which was a bit smaller and not quite, I mean, they're fully lined, but it wasn't quite as big. And I had a little bit of difficult time with the binding. This one isn't perfect, but that's good enough. And then I had this one, which I had made, and this one has the binding on the inside. I thought, oh, but it made it much, it made it much thicker. And it sort of works, but not really, sort of works. My glasses do fit in there, but it's a little bit awkward. I quite like the larger size. And then, oops, can't get my glasses out. There we go. And then, as I showed you, I made this one, which maybe actually would be okay to just get your glasses in and out quickly. But I didn't know how to do it, and it's all really jacked up there. So that's all. So I'm going to show you how to make how I made this one with a little bit of variation, trying to get this binding a bit better, because I want to attach a little whatever this thing is, a little lobster catch. To maybe hang it onto your bag or your pants or whatever, a belt loop or something. So I'm attaching that, I think. Hopefully I can do that. So for this thing I use 2 fat quarters. And I want to show you, I cut my fabric out. I'll give you the dimensions, the directions. But these are my fat quarters. I had 2 fat quarters right here, and this is the size. This is what I cut out of 2 fat quarters to make this case here. So what I've done, let me put my glasses on. I've cut 2 each of this fabric, my 2 fat quarters, 2 different ones. You can use the same fabric. You could use a fat quarter if you wanted, and use the same fabric. I obviously have chosen just to change it up and do 2 different fabrics here. But you, by all means, could use 1 fabric and just cut two pieces of the same fabric. I cut 2 different ones. You need to cut 2 each of the fabric, 2 each of the interfacing, 2 each of the foam in this size. Now, the interfacing that I have used for this case here, which is quite nice and substantial, is this interfacing here. It's called Patron 361 TD. It's a Patron a fusible mid-weight.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Oh, my phone went. Isn't that funny? I don't need you, Alexis. It's a non-fusible interfacing that I used. That's my Siri. And then what I've done here is I have, you don't need this much flexible foam. This is a Patron Flex Foam one-sided fusible stabilizer. And that I buy it by this. This would make a heck of a lot of eyeglass cases, but I think you can buy this by the yard or by the package. It is just a fusible foam, and it just made this with the interfacing. It made a nice substantial holder here. So that's what I've used: my fabric, my interfacing, my foam. You're going to be needing to cut 2 of each, the fabric and the interfacing, 3.5 by 7.5 inches, and then you need to cut 1 piece of foam, 3.5 inches by 7 inches. Then you're going to be cutting 2 of the fabric and 2 of the interfacing, 5 inches by 7.5 inches, and then 1 piece of foam, 5 inches by 7.5 inches. This is about a 20-inch piece of binding. This is as you know, this is a double fold. This is a double fold seam binding. Okay, you could use a binding, and it's going to be sort of experimental for me to try to get this binding on. I used white thread here, and it skipped a little bit, and it's not great. So I'm going to try to attach this binding slightly differently. But this is the binding I've used, about 20 inches of it. Again, a little lobster catch. Hopefully I'm going to be able to put that on. And you're going to be needing a 9-inch zipper. this is a 12-inch zipper, but all you need is a 9-inch zipper, and even with a 9-inch zipper, we're going to be cutting it down slightly. So what I've done here is I have attached the fusible interfacing to the back of each piece that I had cut, okay? I attached, it's an iron-on interfacing. It has a glue side, which is like a nubbly side, and I put that towards the back of the fabric, and I ironed that onto each piece. 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of my fabric here. So now what I've done is, this is a fusible. I'm not going to, the foam is a fusible. So I'll go over and I'll just sort of attach that to the back of this piece here. One piece of fabric, different color. Again, if you're using all different fabric, I mean the same fabric, it's fine. I'm using 2 different fabrics. So on 2 different size fabrics, I'm going to attach the foam. Now this is a fusible foam. However, I'm going to go to my machine and I'm going to very carefully, very each edge, just attach that with a small stitch around the edges. So as you can see, I've secured these pieces with my interfacing and my foam onto my one larger and one smaller piece. And what I'm going to do now is, however you want your zipper or your case to look like, you have to sort of audition this. This piece for me is going to come over here, and I'm going to, there's my case. You saw the one in the beginning. We are going to be cutting this off slightly, but I'll show you what we're going to do. Here's my zipper, okay? There's my zipper. So that's what it's going to look like. So I want my zipper, personally for me, I want my zipper going from the left to the right, okay? I want my zipper going from the left to the right. So what I do, just as an aside, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my zipper, I'm going to keep that like that, visually, and put this aside just for now. Now, for my smaller piece, I'm going to take my zipper, which is longer, but the zipper tab is going to be facing down, okay? My teeth are going to be facing down, all right? I'm going to open this slightly, and I'm going to start my zipper right about, actually I might enclose this all the way because I have a long one, because I don't want to get that metal. So because it's a flat, it's not on a curve. I'm going to start my zipper with the teeth, with the that up there, because I don't want to get that in my seam, the metal. Now my teeth are down. I'm using white thread. I will change my thread when I go to put my binding on, but I'm okay with it now. Just attaching my zipper. So my zipper teeth are the metal pieces sticking off there, and I'm just going to start putting the teeth down. I don't even have a zipper foot on, as you can see. I'm just starting it. And I don't know if you know, but most zippers sort of, well, they used to. Yeah, they sort of have a guide here. They used to have a little bit more of a guide, actually, now that I'm looking at it. Yeah, they don't really. They used to have more of a line there where you could sort of follow, but I can eyeball my zipper. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my needle down, and I'm just going to get rid of this zipper tab for now. Just put it up there. I'm aligning my zipper edge right along the side there. And again, I don't have a zipper foot on, but it's fine. I'm next to the teeth, and I'm going to go right off. I'm going to go right off. And a little bit of a back stitch there. Now, when we're doing a zipper, you might like, oh no, it's so hard. There's my zipper, okay? But what we're going to be doing is you always want to enclose your zipper. I always say that. When we're doing a zipper, it's not hard, but we're going to enclose zipper, enclose zipper. So what I have here is I have my 2 other pieces, my smaller and my larger. Put that aside for now. We're working with our smaller piece. And for me, it's a different fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this pretty sides together, always pretty sides together when you're sewing anything. And then I'm going, because I can't see what I'm doing, I'm going to flip that over. I'm going to line the edges, because I cut these pieces exactly the same size. I'm going to align the edges here and up here and along here, and I can see my stitching. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 1 thread closer one thread closer, so I make sure I don't see that stitching on the other side. Just a little bit of a back stitch, just one thread closer, but basically you're going on top of that stitching. Go slowly. We are enclosing our zipper and making our lining. Now I'm coming to the top, needle down, press her foot up, and I want to get rid of my zipper tab. It'll go, yeah, there you go. So I've opened up my zipper. Everything's nice and straight. Keep everything straight. And I'm just going to finish and go right off. And a back stitch. Get rid of my threads. So now what we have here is this little envelope. And my zipper is enclosed, and you can go over to your machine, to your ironing board, but I just find if I finger press this and pull this down really nice and flat and straighten it all out nice, I'm going to top stitch. I'm just going to top stitch right along this edge next to my zipper, about 1/8 of an inch, not quite 1/4 of an inch, just along that edge, just to make a nice neat finish here. Go slowly. That keeps everything nice and flat. That keeps everything on the inside. It looks nice. On the outside, it looks nice. So now we're going to grab our next piece, which is all together, been all lovely and stitched together, and we're going to come over, and again we can't see right sides together, pretty sides together. We can't see where we're going to be stitching, so now we turn it over, and you just always want to make sure that your side pieces are aligned, making sure you're having the pretty side to the pretty side, and your zipper tab, your zipper teeth are down, your zipper edge is along the raw edge of your fabric. Everything is straight and straight. And then we're going to come back, and on this side of the zip, again, same distance away, we're going to stitch our zipper on. And keep my needle down about there and open up my zipper. Get rid of this zipper tab. Keep everything nice and straight. A little back stitch and then right off. And again, what's our next step? Lovely, super nice, but now we have to enclose our zipper. So we take our other piece of fabric, interfaced, and we figure out that, we have to enclose this zipper. So again, pretty sides to all of this lot. We're going to put that there. And you see, I can't see where I have to stitch. We turn it over. Everything is the exact size. Everything is exact size. All of that. We see our stitching there. Now I don't even have to take this zipper tab out of the way because it's up there. Just start up here. And again, everything is lined up here nicely. And again, maybe just one thread or just on top of that other stitching. Go slowly, because you don't have a zipper foot on, but if you need the zipper foot, by all means, put a zipper foot on. I don't even know where my zipper foot is. I should find it. And then right off. And what have we done? We have enclosed our zipper. Where's that? Where's that? Where's that? Where's that? Where's that? There you go. You're going to pull this out. Pull that out. You're going to push that down. And then, with it all nice and pulled out, nice and straight, nice and tight, we're going to do the same thing right there. pull this out so everything's nice and even. We're going to top stitch right along there. Now this, you can hear, this is punching through. This is punching through quite a few layers, but your machine can do it. Just go slowly. I do have a jeans needle in my sewing machine, because we're going through foam and fabric and interfacing and zipper tape. I do use a heavier needle. Okay? So now we have this. When you open it up, it's a nice, there's our, coming together our bag. It's a nice lined bag there. Now, this, you are going to, as you can see, you are going to, I like to have this little bit up here, okay, and I'm going to pull up, I'm going to go over to my ironing board, and I'm sort of going to iron it. You can see that that's a little bit, this bit here is slightly, oh yeah. No, what we're going to do, I completely forgot. What we're going to do is we're going to make the lining and the top one. That's right, I completely forgot that, excuse me. So what I'm going to do is we're going to make this lining, and it's not, it might not quite match, not quite, so just do it, turn it over, because we are going to have to trim off one of these. So it's about to there, I believe, yeah. I'm going to come along here, about 1/4 of an inch. I'm just making the lining and the top one. The sides are perfect. These edges are just slightly larger. Now what I am going to do, I'm going to pull my lining out here. I'm going to come right across my zipper teeth, being very careful. Being very careful. I'm going to back stitch right across those zipper teeth, just for now, and I'm going to make the lining in this top bit one. And again, just slightly off, just slightly. Just makes a neater, tidier package to work with when we're attaching our binding. Now, what I want to do, I just didn't, I want to open my zipper up here and just make sure that the zipper teeth, they're not gapping, they're not overlapping, they're just, when we do the lining, because I started my lining here, I'll go back a bit, my teeth are together. My teeth are together, I'm just attaching them together. Going back, making sure your zipper tab is open, because this is where I began. Okay? So now we have a nice, neat, lined, tidy package with these zipper ends out, right? So here's our zipper. We can now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my ironing board. And I have erred on the cautious side of making this larger, because I'm going to cut this down. But there's my bag right there. It's the size of this. Now I made this bigger because I didn't know how to do it smaller. So I made it bigger, and then I can cut it down when we actually sew this. So I'm assured that this is what I like here. I like that little bit up there. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and I'm just going to press that down. I'm going to iron that down, and then I'm going to come down and I'm going to attach, I'm going to sew the raw seams. We're going to attach the raw seams here, and then you'll see it's about 1/2 inch or a little bit longer, more. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to sew it along there. And then I've ironed this down, and as you can see, the back is about 1/2 inch or so shorter, but that's okay. That's what makes our case. I err on the larger side here on this piece when I turn it over. I could have done this, but I'm not quite sure how to do that, as I said. So anyway, we're just going to be trimming off. But right for now, I'm going to be stitching about 1/4 of an inch, starting at the top, away, and I'm just going to stitch down. want to go to about to the end of underneath, but I'll just go right off and I'll just stitch there. I'll show you what we do. I'm going to back stitch here because there's a lot of stress here, and I'm going to very carefully go over my zipper teeth like that, and then I can feel that the back end's right about there. Back stitch. I did change my thread to the maroon to stitch my binding on. I'm just going to go down one side, and I'm going to come back, and I'm going to start at the end, but I can feel, just open my bag. Very important that you open your bag right now. We're not turning anything inside out, but you don't want your zipper tab to get in your binding. So I'm just coming up here, and again, very slowly, I'm going to be stitching over the teeth and onto my little turn over here. This is about 1/4 inch away. Now I'm going to turn this over, and as you can see, I have this bit here, and I'm going to, there's stitching right there. I want to enclose that stitching, so I'll just stitch right on that stitching where we sort of attached everything together. Back stitch. Now I can just trim off very closely this 1/2 inch or so. Okay? All right, coming on. So easy. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off, because we know it's not going to your zipper tab's not going to be flying off because it's enclosed now. And as you can see, we have a fully lined little bag here. Lovely. I'm going to just cut that end off there. And I'm going to just trim this seam up really, really well, because now we're going to put the binding on. And we want it as close as possible to the seam, because it's a lot of fabric, foam interfacing fabrics to get through for our binding. And that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. But now, so here we have a little case, right? Look at that. 2 seconds. Now the binding, I think, is the hardest part, but there it is. It's fully enclosed, fully lined, lovely, padded, nice. Nice padding. It's a nice substantial. Now, what do I do with my quilts? Because I'm going to be attaching this binding here, okay? This is a double fold bias binding, right? Okay? Now I'm going to be doing this a little bit differently. Usually the way I did it before, I open this up, and as you know, if you've watched me before, you know, whoops, this wrong end, you know that bias binding, as it comes off of the cardboard, where there's one side that's a little bit wider than the other side. You can see this bottom bit here is slightly wider than the top. You see that? As from the manufacturer. So how they made it is you enclose something like that. You enclose a seam, and then when you stitch on this edge here, it automatically will catch that edge back there. But I'm not going to do it that way. I did it that way over there, and it did on my other one, and it didn't quite work out. So this is an experiment. But what I am going to do now is I'm going to curve my corners. I just find a curved corner, and I'm just going to eyeball a little curve. By all means, if you want to get a little template or a little glass, but I just do that. I just do a little bit of a curved corner. I might curve this one a little bit more, because I just find that when I'm attaching any kind of binding, it goes around a curve a little bit more, and I quite like the look of that. Now, this is an experiment, so please bear with me. I think it's going to turn out. If it doesn't, you won't be seeing this. So, I'm going to open up. I'm going to open up the widest part. There's the bits on the, now would I do that when I turn it around? Yeah. Anyway, hopefully this will work. I'm going to keep my binding up on the top there, okay? I'm going to open up my bias binding. Okay, like that. I'm going to open this up. And there's already a crease, as you can see, because of the way it's come off of the cardboard. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to start, forget this raw edge, I'm going to start right, not on the crease, not perfectly on the crease, but I'm going to go in a couple of stitches to the inside of that crease, okay? Just a couple of stitches. I'm going to back stitch up here to allow, I believe, this is what I'm going to be doing, to allow for the turning. Again, carefully over these zipper teeth. Now, don't pull this binding. You want to relax your binding around this corner. You're just going to relax this binding right around the corner. And what you're going to do is you want to keep the edges together at all times. And so if you pull, it's going to defeat the purpose. You're just going to relax this binding stitch by stitch. You see that? You see how I'm just relaxing that binding? I'm going slightly on the inside of that crease. And just stitch by stitch, I'm going around that little curve that we made, making sure that my edges are always straight, just slightly on the inside. Coming up to this one, doing the same thing. I'm relaxing it around this little curve that I made. So the way I've done this, as opposed to the other one, my edges are nice around the curve. The way I've done this is at least it's nice and tidy on the on this outside edge. It's really tidy. I've machined it. It's nice and tidy. Whereas the other one you saw some raggedy stitching. Where's my zipper pull? I want to get that out of the way so I don't whack it. And again, I'm going to figure it out. I'm just going to go right off up at the top here, having back stitched. So now I've got to figure out what to do with here, these. But now, as you can see, when I turn my binding, I might have to trim that seam a little bit. Yeah, I will have to. When I turn my binding to the inside, as you can see, the outside, when it's all nice and pressed, is lovely and bound. Okay? Press that, sort of push it into shape. Now this is where you can absolutely hand stitch your binding. Those of you who hand stitch binding, you can hand stitch your binding to the back. You see how that's turned in? You see how that's turned around there? You see that? You could just absolutely hand stitch. And I believe on this end, what I'm going to do is if you would just turn that in there, and then tuck that binding, and then hand stitch your binding right down. All right? You could do that. I'm making it maybe a little bit difficult for myself. I'm going to try to machine. I'm going to go over to my ironing board and pull this binding around really nice. I have to trim this edge up here. This is a little bit too thick. It's okay. And pull my binding around. I'm going to go over and I'm going to press this. I'm going to press this down and even it all out. And even it all out on the outside. And then I'm going to see if I can actually machine stitch along this edge here. This is sort of an experiment, catching the back of my binding here. I'm going to go over and I'm going to see if I'm going to go over to my ironing board and see if I can iron this down so much so that I can catch my binding on the back. So I'm on my ironing board, and what I've done, as you can see, then this is nice and sewed on lovely on the outside here, but I'm quite pleased with the way this has turned out. Because this is a bias binding, it stretches really nice. But my goal, my goal is to try to be able to stitch this in this ditch here, right there, right along there, and on the outside, so you don't see the stitching, but I catch it on the back side, which just will eliminate the need for me to hand stitch this binding on. That's all I'm doing. I'm lazy, right? So what I'm doing is I'm turning this binding around. I'm turning this binding to the back here, and because I can see the seam, I can see the stitches that I have to cover. That hopefully when it's stitched on this side, I'm catching it over on this side here, okay? So again, it's a little bit of an experiment to do it this way because I haven't done it. I didn't do the other one this way. So I'm trying to keep it even all the way around, but covering those stitches, okay? Now, why I left this here and this here, I'm gonna address this side first, okay? Because I think I'll start on this side. I quite think that's awesome, actually. Look. So I'm gonna iron this nice, and when I stitch it, I'm gonna sort of hopefully catch the back side here, okay? But this side, what I'm gonna do is right now I'm gonna open this up like that, and I'm just gonna tuck that in there, and then sort of just smash that in like that and tuck that. Yeah. So I just have, so this top edge, again, when I go to sew it, look, it'll be quite nice. And actually, if you can see that, in theory, if I stitch along there, if I stitch there, I'm going to catch the back. In theory, do you see that? And my top edge will be real nice. Maybe I'll go back and I'll just catch that little edge. But I'm going to start that right here, making sure that this is nice and straight. I don't want to pull it too much like that. I don't want to pull it too much like that, but I don't want to do it like this over here because I won't stitch it. I won't catch it. So I'm going to be very careful, stitch by stitch, to try to stitch it on the outside. And I'll take you over to my machine, and if it works, it works. It'll be a miracle. Now, where is it? Where is it? Oh, I lost it. Oh no. Oh, where the heck is it? Oh, here it is, here it is, here it is. Now, I want to somehow attach this little lobster catch to what I thought was the binding. That's why I made this a little bit longer. So no. Oh, yeah. So there, and I guess it would be like to that bit, yeah, like to there. So when I come up to here, again, maybe I will have to just hand stitch this down. Probably I'll just attach that. I'll just see if I can, when my stitching comes up to there, I'll attach this, and then I'll address this lobster cut. I might just have to cut it off here and just hand stitch those few. Okay, so here goes nothing. So as you can see, I've tucked in the top, and hopefully when I stitch, as you can see, I'm going to start up here, put my needle down. I'm going to go ever so slowly. I'm going to try to catch the back through all of this. So you won't be able to see my stitches. I will back stitch here. So to push this under. I don't know if it's going to catch because this isn't just a regular seam that I'm enclosing. This is like a bunch of stuff. But I think it would work. Around my corners. Yeah, where I've pressed it. So A little wider there. I don't know. When I turn it around, we'll see what it looks like. Trying to keep it the same sort of size. And right in that. At least the front will look nice. It's not perfect. It's fine. Somebody said, oh, I like when you say, it's not perfect. It's fine. That's my mantra. Life isn't perfect. So, yeah, so there's the crease. And this side is a little bit, narrower. Ah, come on. It's fine. I think I'm catching the back side. At least, as I said, at least the front looks really quite lovely. And then I'm going to come up to here. And I'll worry about this bit in a minute. I hope it's cut. You go over those. Be careful when you go over the zipper teeth. And I'll just go back and off. Now, moment of truth here, folks. A moment of truth. Get rid of this. Is it going to work? I will show it to you if it doesn't work. Then we can figure something out. So the front looks lovely. I'll press that because it's gotten a little bit pulled, but that's okay. Now. Ah! Oh, I used white thread. I completely forgot. That's all right. Yeah, it caught. It just missed a little there, and it's a little wide there. But, oh, that's fine. That's awesome. Look, it's caught just everywhere. Can you see that? I just missed a little tiny stitch there. Oh, and that was on the... Oh, I can almost feel it. You see that? I can almost feel that. So I'm just going to go back right there to sort of push it in and tuck it in where I didn't catch it, maybe. Just go a little bit closer. And hopefully I will have caught that just to there. And again, on the front you can't see it. And on the back I caught it. Look at that. And it's a little, again, if you had the darker thread. I used white thread. Ah, I'm so thrilled. Now I will press that because it's gotten a little bit wonky, but I think with a little bit of starch and a little bit of water, I can press that wrinkle out of there. But look at my case. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to, let me just see. Well, obviously I don't need that much. I'm going to attach that like that. Pull this down here. And then, yeah, I'll cut this off. So I did it. I stitched this little lobster catch on by hand. Aren't you proud of me? Did a few stitches there. These have my glasses in them. And they're nice and sturdy. I ironed that the best I can. And oh, it's caught. It's all caught right there. Machine caught. By all means, like I said, if you wanted to hand stitch that binding. But there is my glass case. It holds my glasses really nice. It's padded. It's insulated. It's interfaced. And it's pretty. A nice little present. You can just attach, like if you get these, they're swivel, the lobster catches, you could just attach that to the inside of your bag, not going anywhere. Oh, and by all means, again, if you wanted to put a little, as I have put it on here, just to make it even a little bit prettier, you can put a little doodad on there, just to make these really, really special little case. I also have little, little like handmade little you can buy them at the craft store that says like maybe a little metal label, as it were, a little tag. It says handmade or something like that you could attach to personalize. And again, we have had to cut down ½ an inch, but again, I erred on the cautious side to make it this exact size that I liked. So I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial for my fairly sturdy, practical, nice little glasses case.